we've all been there, right? You walk into a room and blank.
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Or that name, it's right there, but it just vanishes.
Oh, definitely. Those little slips.
Yeah, those little slips. They
Yeah.
make you wonder, is my brain losing its edge?
Mm.
So today on the deep dive, we're really digging into how to keep your brain not just like working, but truly young, sharp, focused, flexible at any age.
And it's not just about preventing decline.
Exactly. It's about enhancing what you've got, making your brain, well, a really interesting place to be.
And that's where the science gets really exciting, I think. Your brain, it controls everything, right? Thoughts, memory, mood.
Everything.
And it's not set in stone. It has this incredible quality neuroplasticity.
That's the key word, isn't it?
It really is. It's the brain's ability to literally change, to build new connections, even when you're older.
So it's not fixed.
Not at all. It's a game changer for cognitive health. That's our thinking, learning, memory, all that stuff.
You called neuroplasticity a superpower. I like that.
Yay!
But it feels like our modern lives, maybe, don't help. We're always on autopilot.
How so?
Well, GPS tells us where to turn. We scroll on social media without really thinking. Maybe use an emoji instead of figuring out the words.
Right. Less mental effort.
Yeah. Is that bad for this superpower? One of our sources had this great metaphor. Imagine your brain is like a garden.
Yeah.
If you don't water it, pull weeds, plant new seeds.
It stops growing. That's a perfect analogy. We often don't challenge our brains enough.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something really cool, especially if you're out there learning English right now.
Oh, what's that?
You're already giving your brain an amazing workout. Seriously. Actively learning English boosts concentration, memory, mental flexibility.
So just by trying to learn, you're training your brain.
Exactly. It's like a built-in brain gym. You're using so many different parts of your brain at once.
Okay, so get ready. We're going to unpack some surprising facts, some really practical tips, things you can actually do.
Yeah, simple daily habits.
To keep that brain sharp, fresh, and full of energy. It's going to be really interesting. Okay, we've talked about the brain's potential, this neuroplasticity. But let's be real, there's often that fear, right, of getting older, about, losing it.
That's a common concern, absolutely.
But the research we looked at actually has some genuinely good news here.
It does. Yes, some things change, that's normal. But change doesn't automatically mean decline.
Okay, like what changes?
Well, processing speed might slow down a tiny bit. It might take a fraction longer to pull up a name or work through a problem.
Okay.
And those tip-of-the-tongue moments, they can happen a bit more often. Multitasking also tends to get harder.
Which, let's face it, most of us aren't great at anyway.
Exactly. Research shows true multitasking is pretty inefficient, even for younger people. So maybe that's not such a loss.
Fair point. So some things shift a bit, but what really jumped out at me was the stuff that stays the same or even gets better.
Ah, yes. That's the exciting part.
Like vocabulary and language skills. Our sources say they often improve, which is fantastic news for anyone learning English, right?
Definitely.
And emotional intelligence often increases. That ability to navigate tricky social situations, understand people.
Mm-hmm. The kind of wisdom.
Yeah. And that connects to crystallized intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not about raw speed. It's about using your experience, your wisdom, to solve complex, real-world problems.
It's a unique strength of the, let's say, more experienced brain. You see solutions others might miss.
So it's not all downhill.
Not at all. And that brings us back to neuroplasticity. It means your brain can adapt, stay strong, even get stronger.
The use it or lose it idea.
Precisely. But think of it positively. It's an opportunity. Like that path in the forest analogy, use it, keep thinking actively, and you keep those neural pathways strong, even build new ones.
You're literally rewiring yourself.
You are. You're defying the idea that decline is inevitable.
That's really empowering. Just knowing what's normal change versus something else, it reduces that fear, lets you take control. Okay, so we need to train the brain like a muscle.
Yeah.
But what about fuel? You can't run an engine on empty, right?
Absolutely not. And the brain is incredibly fuel hungry.
I was amazed by that stat. It's only, what, 2% of your body weight?
Yep, tiny.
But it uses 20% of your daily energy. That's huge.
It is. It needs the right fuel to perform well.
So what are these brain-boosting foods?
Well, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, they consistently come up top. They're full of omega-3s.
Right, the good fats.
Essential for brain cell membranes, communication. Really crucial stuff. Then you have blueberries, little powerhouses.
Antioxidants.
Exactly. They protect the brain from stress, from aging. Leafy greens, too, spinach, kale. They've got vitamin K and folate, great for memory.
And nuts and seeds.
Walnuts, pumpkin seeds, zinc, magnesium, vitamin E, good for clear thinking. And whole grains for steady energy, avoids those sugar spikes and crashes.
Okay, so those are the good guys. What about the brain blockers? The things to avoid.
Sugary stuff. Highly processed foods. They're big ones. They cause inflammation.
Like a fire inside.
Kind of, yeah. It can really impair brain function, lead to that fog we talked about, and too much alcohol. Over time, it can actually shrink brain volume.
Shrink it. Wow.
Yeah. And something simple but vital, hydration.
Just water.
Just water. Your brain is 75% water. Even being slightly dehydrated can make you feel foggy, headachy, moody.
Makes sense.
And then there's the gut-brain connection.
That gut feeling.
It's real. It's a two-way street. Your digestive health directly impacts your thinking and mood. So things like probiotics, yogurt, kefir, they help support that link.
So the takeaway is pretty simple, really.
Eat real food, lots of colors, limit the sugar, and drink water.
And if you're learning English, it's a double win, right? A fueled brain learns better.
Faster, easier, and probably more enjoyable, too. It all works together.
You know, sometimes you meet someone, maybe they're a bit older, but they just seem alive, full of energy, ideas, excitement.
Yeah, you know the type. Always learning something new.
Exactly. And our sources suggest their secret might just be lifelong learning, driven by good old-fashioned curiosity.
It's more than just taking classes, though. It's a mindset.
A desire to know.
Yeah, a strong desire to learn, to understand. And curiosity does something amazing to the brain.
What's that?
It keeps it active, obviously. But when you learn something new, something unfamiliar, your brain releases dopamine.
The pleasure chemical.
Right. So learning literally feels good, which makes you want to do more of it. It's a great cycle.
Okay, so how do we cultivate that? How do we stay curious?
Small steps. Our sources suggest things like just ask why. Ask how more often. If you're learning English, don't just skip a new word, look it up.
Be inquisitive.
Yes. Actively watch and listen podcasts, documentaries on things that genuinely interest you. Read regularly. Even 10 minutes helps. Maybe compare writing styles in English and your own language.
That's a cool idea.
Try new hobbies. Painting, coding, cooking something different. It trains new ways of thinking. And engage in conversations. Be okay with making mistakes. That's how you grow.
And for English learners,
You're already doing it. You are lifelong learners by definition. Every word, every grammar point, every chat.
They're building those brain muscles.
Exactly. Building memory, attention, thinking in multiple languages. The sources use this great sponge metaphor. A dry sponge is stiff, useless. A soaked sponge is alive, absorbent.
Keep soaking it in. I like that. Okay, exercise.
Yeah.
We usually think body health, muscles, weight loss, that sort of thing.
Right, the physical benefits.
But here's a mind blower. Movement is one of the absolute best things you can do to keep your brain young and sharp.
It's huge. That mind-body connection is incredibly powerful.
All powerful.
Get this. Our sources point to research showing regular exercise can actually increase the size of the hippocampus,
The memory center.
the memory and learning center of the brain. Exercise can literally make it grow.
Wow. Okay. That changes how I think about going for a walk. So how does movement help the brain?
Several ways. First, more oxygen and blood flow. Like you said, watering the plant, your brain gets more nutrients.
Makes sense.
Then it releases those feel-good chemicals. Dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. They boost mood, focus.
The runner's high. Kinda.
Yeah, that sort of effect. Plus, it lowers stress hormones like cortisol, which can be toxic to the brain over time. And critically, it improves sleep.
Which we know is vital for brain cleanup.
Essential. Clearing toxins, consolidating memories. Sleep is prime time for the brain.
So do I need to run a marathon?
Not at all. Consistency beats intensity here. Our sources suggest simple things. 20, 30-minute walks are great. Dancing is fantastic. Good for coordination and memory.
Ooh, I like dancing.
Yoga, even gardening or cleaning counts. Just move regularly. And for English learners, here's a cool trick. Combine movement with learning.
How does that work?
It's called embodied learning. Walk while listening to an English podcast. Use gestures when you practice new vocabulary. It creates stronger memory links.
Interesting. So moving helps embed the learning.
Exactly. And don't forget brain breaks. If you sit for hours, that's not good.
Get up and move every hour.
Yeah, just 2-3 minutes, shake it out, walk around. It counteracts the negative effects of sitting and refreshes your focus.
We're social animals, aren't we? We need connection.
Fundamentally.
And it turns out those relationships aren't just good for the soul. They're critical for brain health. Seriously critical.
It's true. The flip side is quite stark. Loneliness can actually speed up brain aging.
That's worrying. So how does being social help the brain?
Well, think about what happens during a conversation. Your brain is firing on all cylinders. Language areas, memory, emotion processing, empathy, decision-making. It's all active.
A full brain workout just by chatting.
Pretty much. It requires you to listen, process, recall information, formulate responses. It's complex.
And the benefits are clear.
It's very clear. Better memory and focus, you have to remember names, stories, details. Faster thinking, you need quick responses. Emotional protection, 2 good relationships buffer stress, lower that damaging cortisol.
And long term.
Socially active people tend to live longer and have significantly less cognitive decline as they age. The link is really strong.
Okay, but what about isolation? Sometimes you need alone time.
Absolutely. There's a difference between healthy solitude and harmful loneliness or isolation. True isolation, lacking meaningful connection, can physically change the brain for the worse.
So how do we stay connected, especially if maybe you're naturally introverted?
Doesn't have to be huge parties. Our sources suggest practical things. Aim for daily conversations, even just 10 minutes with someone.
Small interactions count.
They do. Join a group or a class, a language course is perfect, or a book club, anything with shared interest. Volunteering is great too, gives you purpose, which is fantastic for the brain.
And really listen when you talk to people.
Yes. Practice active listening. It builds empathy and focus. And for English learners, this is gold. Use your English. Talk to people.
Even if you make mistakes.
Especially if you make mistakes. That's learning. Mixing language practice with socializing is brilliant.
So talking in English is like double points for brain health.
You could say that. It strengthens memory, vocab, confidence, reaction time. It's one of the best exercises out there.
Okay, routine. Our brains love it, right? Saves energy.
They do. They're efficient.
But too much routine, too much autopilot, that can make the brain kind of lazy, can't it?
It can lead to stagnation. That's where novelty comes in. New stuff.
New experiences, new skills, new places. That's the antidote to autopilot. Keeps things, really interesting for the brain.
Exactly. The brain actually loves a good challenge. When you encounter something unfamiliar, something that requires effort,
It has to work harder.
it does. It has to forge new neural connections. It builds cognitive flexibility, that skill of switching between ideas, adapting, thinking outside the box.
Like lifting a heavier weight at the gym. You challenge it to make it grow.
Perfect analogy. And novelty gives you so many brain boosts. It sparks curiosity, releases that dopamine we talked about.
Makes learning feel good.
Yep. New experiences are also more memorable. Your brain pays more attention when something is different. Focus improves because you can't be on autopilot.
And it builds confidence.
Definitely. Every time you tackle something new and manage it, your brain learns, hey, I can do hard things.
So how do we get more novelty without, quitting our jobs and traveling the world?
Doesn't need to be drastic. Simple things work. Change your environment, slightly rearrange your desk, take a different route home from work.
Easy enough.
Learn a totally new skill, even a small one. Try drawing, learn a few chords on a guitar, cook a new type of cuisine, and here's that weird but effective one again.
Using the opposite hand.
Yes. Brush your teeth, stir your coffee with your non-dominant hand. It feels awkward, right?
Totally awkward.
That awkwardness is the point. It forces your brain to build new pathways. You can also try speaking differently, tell a story in English, but don't use gestures. Or consciously use 5 new words you learned today.
Challenge yourself communication-wise.
Or just read or watch something completely outside your usual interests. If you only read fiction, try a science article. If you only watch comedies, try a documentary.
This ties so directly into learning English, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Every time you push your language comfort zone, using new grammar, talking to native speakers, reading something difficult, you are giving your brain an intense novelty workout.
It creates more connections.
Tons more. It improves not just your English, but your overall memory, creativity, problem solving. So that feeling of difficulty, when learning feels hard,
Don't run away from it.
embrace it. That effort is your brain getting stronger.
Right, we've covered training, fueling, curiosity, movement, connection, novelty, lots of active stuff. But maybe the most crucial piece, the one we often sacrifice first, is sleep.
Sleep. The unsung hero of brain health.
Our sources really emphasize this. They say sleep is when your brain does its most important work. Resetting, repairing, getting stronger.
It's absolutely vital. While we rest, the brain is incredibly active doing essential maintenance.
Like what kind of maintenance?
Well, memory storage is a big one. Moving memories from short-term holding to long-term storage happens during sleep.
Locking in what you learned.
Exactly. Also, toxin removal. The brain has its own waste clearance system that's much more active during sleep, flushing out harmful proteins that build up when we're awake.
Like taking out the trash.
Precisely. Sleep is also critical for learning the brain reviews and strengthens new skills and information overnight, and for emotional regulation. A good night's sleep helps you manage stress and mood much better.
And the flip side, the cost of not getting enough sleep.
It's steep. Poor focus, obviously. Weaker memory. Learning slows way down. You get mood swings. And long-term.
Yeah.
Chronic poor sleep can actually accelerate brain aging. It's strongly linked to conditions like Alzheimer's disease.
That's serious. So how much do we need?
For most adults, the sweet spot is usually 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night.
Quality being the key word.
Yes, and there are definite tips for getting better brain sleep. A consistent routine is huge. Same bedtime, same wake-up time, even on weekends if possible.
Tricky but important.
Very. Avoid screens, phones, tablets, TVs for at least an hour before bed. That blue light messes with melatonin, your sleep hormone.
Keep the bedroom cool, dark, quiet.
Ideal conditions. And maybe avoid heavy meals, lots of sugar or caffeine too close to bedtime. Oh, and here's a fascinating tip for learners.
Go on.
Use sleep to boost your learning. Briefly review your English notes, vocabulary, or grammar right before you turn out the light.
Really?
Yeah. Your brain continues processing that information while you sleep, strengthening those connections. It's like getting extra study time while you're unconscious.
Okay, that's a cool hack.
Yep.
So sleep isn't downtime, it's uptime for the brain.
It's not weakness, it's a superpower. Especially if you're learning something demanding like a new language, you need that recovery and consolidation time.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. What's the big picture?
Yeah.
Keeping your brain young. It's not magic, is it?
No magic bullet, unfortunately. It really comes down to a lifestyle, making small, consistent, meaningful choices every day.
Little things add up.
They really do. Our sources talk about a kind of daily brain plan. It's about integrating these things naturally.
Like starting the morning with water, maybe some movement, setting an intention, perhaps practicing a little English.
Exactly. Then during the day, trying to focus on one task at a time, taking those short movement breaks, eating brain-friendly food, learning something new, having a conversation.
And in the evening.
Winding down, limiting screens, maybe reviewing what you learned, relaxing, and prioritizing that good night's sleep.
And weaving in novelty and social connection throughout the week.
Yeah, trying new things, using that opposite hand sometimes, connecting with groups, taking time to reflect.
So the key takeaways for everyone listening, what would they be?
I'd say consistency over perfection. Don't try to do everything at once. Find a balance between activity and rest. Stay curious.
Feed your body well, move it often, and connect with people.
That's it. Your brain is your most valuable asset, your most interesting companion through life. Treat it well. It will support you for a lifetime.
So maybe the final thought for everyone is,
what's one new habit, just one small thing you're excited to try this week to keep your brain young and really interesting?